we're going to turn this thing forward. We're going to talk a little bit about what we got going on coming up. Well, I think specifically tomorrow night, I want to start with it's a chance for two teams in the SEC to kind of prove something. I think we don't really know what Kentucky is at this point, and I think we don't really know what LSU is at this point in the season. They are playing each other tomorrow. As of this very moment, that line at our partners over at Bet Rivers is LSU -1. That total is, let me bring it back up, is 139.5. So I want to know not just kind of how you see this game playing out, but how important is this, Carter, for both of these teams? Because LSU doesn't have a win over a team ranked in the top 50. We've seen Kentucky lose to Notre Dame. Their best wins are blowouts against teams that I don't think any of us really are all that, like none of us are really all that impressed with North Carolina. I know that for a fact because we've talked about that before on the show. So how much do these two teams have to prove in this game tomorrow night?
Oh, they got to prove a lot. I mean, you just said it all right there. You go through these teams' resumes, and I still am searching for an answer on how the hell Kentucky lost to Notre Dame. I would still love an answer if anyone out there has one. Please let me know. But both these teams need statement wins. We've seen this whole year with LSU, even in particular, we're seeing a Will Wade team that's buying in defensively. And yes, you heard that right. The connection is right. Will Wade's team right now is playing extremely well defensively. I can't believe it either. So this is a big statement game for these teams, and especially with Kentucky, because it's one of those teams coming into this season. They had so many new pieces that were coming into the team. And this is kind of the level you want to see. Once you get to this point, once you get the SEC play, you want everything clicking. So you want the Sheba playing well. You want Kellen Grady playing well. You want all these guys on your team, the Ties, the Wheelers, everyone playing well as a team and coming together and buying in. So it's a statement for both these teams, and they really need it. So I am leaning Kentucky if you were going to ask that next, but I'd be interested to see what you guys got to say about it.
I think all the guys you just talked about are playing better, though. I think Kellen Grady is playing better. Mm-hmm. Wheeler's playing better. We talked about him early on. One of the concerns about him was he always had a high turnover rate. If he cuts his turnovers down and stays, at 2, I'll give him 2. If he keeps it 2 or below, they're going to be a tough team to beat. And I think Washington has to get going for those guys. I would lean more toward Kentucky right now than LSU. I think LSU is a good team. Like you said, they are defending. I'm a big fan of Gaines as well. I think he's playing well. Efton Reed's coming along, Days and those guys. This is his team now, from losing Cam, from last year, Cam Thomas. And so I'm interested to see how this game turns out. I can't believe that LSU is going to be favored in that. It has to be in Baton Rouge if that's the case. But I think Kentucky's going to come in. I expect Kentucky to come in and get it. I think they're going to get the game.
Yeah, it's tough for me. To answer your question about how Kentucky lost, Carter, Notre Dame didn't guard Severe Wheeler. They basically just threw the guy like 8 feet off of him. I think it was
Blake in the paint.
Yeah,
set him in the paint.
And so they had that automatic help on Sheba, which made it difficult to kind of get the ball into him. And that's kind of what Kentucky has become this season. They basically play 4 around 1. Now, for me, their ceiling, I said this today, I think their ceiling depends on Keon Brooks, right? Like at this point, we kind of know what Kellen Grady, he's shooting 50% from 3 for the record this season, which is not bad. Carter, that's 50% from 3.
Yeah, if I carry the one, that's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. We know what Sheba is. Ty Washington has been good. I think he's getting better. I think he still has room to grow. I think that's where they take a jump. Obviously, Severe Wheeler kind of is what he is. He's going to have his moments. There's going to be points where he struggles. To me, they need Keon Brooks to be a guy, right? To be that kind of 4-man that we talk about as being a potential all SEC kind of a guy. Shoot better than 3 for 14 from 3. Make shots. Make it so that you don't have 3 guys basically. The way it is right now, Severe Wheelers, man, and Keon Brooks, man, can all sag off and do whatever they need to do in the paint on Sheba. So to me, that's where it kind of comes from with this Kentucky team. That's where they take that next step because they've been playing better. They're blowing people out now. They weren't doing that earlier this season. They're blowing people out.
Yeah.
What about Sharp enrolling early? What about Sharp? You think he'll enroll early?
I'm curious your take on this, RC, because if I'm Kentucky, I want to find a way to get him playing, right? Just kind of selfishly, because I think that he's a talented player and he'll help. If Shaedon Sharpe is asking me what my advice would be, I always say you don't have to rush it, man. I don't even know if you need to enroll early. Like I don't I'm kind of always against this idea of rushing the process, right? Like you can run your race at your own pace. You don't have to get there early. We've seen what happens with a guy like Amani Bates who gets there early and he's not quite ready for it. And all of a sudden, the narrative goes from being, oh, Amani's got a really good prospect that could play in the NBA for a while to being like, Memphis is better without him. Like it's very easy to kind of poison what the narrative is, to poison the noise around you as a player. And how often does it actually work? Like when guys enroll early and then try to contribute, like it didn't go great for Hamidou Diallo when he was at Kentucky. We saw it with Devin Askew. He didn't do great. Derek Thornton, that didn't go well. Christian Lander at Indiana. Like how often does it actually work that you get there early, you play early, and it works out better than what it would have if you just ran your race at the normal pace?
You know what it does at time, to be quite honest with you? It exposes guys. Because all you end up doing is transferring or reclassing back into the grade you already in. I mean, let's just call it what it is. No one has ever just, finished high school in 3 years and been eligible to go to college. So the only way that works is if you were reclassed back anyway, and then you were old enough to graduate and go back into the class that you were already in. So I just more so look at it like some guys just get exposed. I mean, you can be some guys come in at 17, 18 years old, and some guys coming in at 19 or 20. I mean, no one really cares, but it matters from a professional standpoint when you're looking at them or when you're looking at their ceiling. But guys that we say, hey, whether they come in early or not, let's be honest. It just means they reclassed, they reclassed before, and now they're coming back into the grade they were already in.
Right. There's no pros for him. If he comes in, he's the number 1, number 2 player in his recruiting class. He comes in and he does what he did in high school, gets buckets. Okay, that's what it is. But on the other hand, like you guys mentioned with some of those players, the floor, all you're doing is hurting yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're not. It's just the cons outweigh the pros in this situation in my eyes. So, to quote the great Rob Dauster, "Run your race." I can't believe I just actually quoted him on this show.
Yeah, if you get a start with them from the very beginning, I'd say you can do it. But coming in December trying to do it, I just think you're too far behind the 8 ball trying to catch up with everything doing that. That's a difficult thing.
Yeah, that's the other part about, like, you're walking into a team that's already set.
Right.
We see how difficult it is. How many times have we seen guys try to bring in a transfer that isn't eligible until the middle of the season and have difficulty kind of getting them acclimated, right? Is he in shape at the level that you need to be in shape to compete in the SEC? Do you really want this dude in his first game where he's eligible to play college basketball doing what? Like, I'm looking at Kentucky's schedule right now. January 15th, they got Tennessee. Then they got Auburn. Then they got Kansas. Like, you're going to throw them right into the fire.
It's different. I say this because it's different. Like, go back to Carter Witt last year. Carter Witt came in December and then tried to run over Christmas break, and then you throw him in, and his first game was on the road against Virginia. He hadn't lifted weight, barely lifted weights. He's done anything. It's like, wait a minute. Like last week, I was playing against Asheville High School, and now I'm playing against UVA on the road. Or a guy that's transferred, has been in your program already, and he just sat out until, December has been eligible. At least that guy's been practicing. He's had reps. He's familiar with everything. So the situations are different. But if you're a high school kid trying to transfer it in, you better be one of, like we talked about, it's better be Jabari, it's better be Paulo, it's better be Shet, or you're in trouble.
See, and here's the thing. I think that Shaedon might be like at that level. I don't think that he's quite as good of a prospect as those guys, but I think that he's kind of in that conversation. Jeff Goodman thinks that he's better than Zion Williamson, which is the craziest take that I've ever heard out of anybody.
I think the best part of Kentucky winning tomorrow would be the Kentucky fans getting at Goodman, because they're going to let him have it, because he's been letting them have it on about their schedule and them not beating anybody. So his mentions will be on fire if Kentucky wins.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong. Like if you're building an NCAA tournament out of a resume at this point, like Kentucky's like an 11 seed. They're probably in the tournament just because they're Kentucky and they great computer numbers. But when your best win is North Carolina on a neutral, like you haven't really beaten it.
When you're a crazy fan of the team, you say hold the logic. You don't, the facts and logic don't really fly. You just you are what you are. You're about your team. We don't want to hear the facts.